Hello there guys. In this video I'm going to be building the Footwork FA-13, which was the Footwork Arrows team's entry into the 1992 F1 World Championship season. In terms of the model kit, this tooling was first released by the company Modelers in 1993 before being reboxed by Fujimi. Footwork had had a torrid season in 1991 with their Porsche engine, failing to qualify, or in some cases even pre-qualify, in most races. For 1992 they'd switched to the Mugen engine, which was a customer Honda V10. Their first driver, Michele Alboreto, scored World Championship points 4 times in Spain, San Marino, Brazil and Portugal. And their second driver, Aguri Suzuki, who although scored no points all season, had a lot more success in this car than he did in the last F1 car I built, the Zakspeed 891. At least in the footwork he finished 9 out of 10 races and finished 10th or above in 7 of those races. At the time though, points were only awarded for the top 6 finishers. The footwork team finished equal 7th in the Constructors' Championship, and the FA-13 was known for its reliability, with Michele Alboreto apparently covering more miles than any other driver during races in the year. So although it wasn't a top running team, I do really like the design of this footwork, particularly the simple red and white livery and the raised nose, which still wasn't common in 1992. Now my approach to building F1 cars has changed slightly over the years. What I tend to do now is build up just the minimum of sub-assemblies and then get everything in a coat of primer and then paint. Here I had a slight issue trying to assemble the 2 engine halves. For some reason the plate on the end here didn't fit, and so I had to trim quite a lot of plastic off the end of the engine. After that the fit was fine, and then this is what I ended up with for my components. Where possible I've left them on the sprue, so if the attachment points are not going to need paint for example. And of course if there are any parts that are similar but are handed, I try to leave them on the sprue so I've got the sprue number still there. The only sub-assemblies I've made here are the 2 engine halves, the small addition to the nose cone, the 2 cockpit halves, and the instrument display attached to the driver's seat. Here are those same parts once they've been primed. Everything in grey except for the bodywork, which has been primed in white. And you can see straight away here that on the floor we have quite a few ejector pin marks that need to be removed. Good detail here on the brakes, with even the manufacturer's name being on them. Given that these will be in metallic colours of course, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to try these glary marker pens, which I used in my recent Zakspeed video. We've got a variety of colours here. This is their metallic black colour, which I'm using for the brake discs themselves. They're really quite handy for small parts like this, although the nib is not super fine, so it can be quite hard to get into the corners. Even here, for example, between the brake disc and the raised inner section, you have to be a bit careful just to make sure you get all the way in there. However, they are very convenient, and it does save getting out paints, pouring them out somewhere, cleaning brushes and so on. So I think overall, although you're not going to be painting entire aircraft with these marker pens or anything like that, small details like this, and later on the engine as well and the end of some of the suspension arms, these are really useful tools. That said, for the engine itself I did go back to my good old trusty Vallejo metal colours. These call themselves airbrush colours, but they brush paint really well too. And I find they tend to leave few brush marks, and they self-level quite well as well. Marker pens are less hassle than brushwork, and brushwork is less hassle than airbrush work, so the more metallic components that I can get out of the way using either of those methods, the better. I think the construction is fairly self-explanatory for this car, so I don't need to give too much commentary for now. Unusually for an F1 car kit, the engine screws to the chassis, and in fact when we add the cockpit later that does the same thing. Now that might not be super realistic, but it really does improve the bond of the parts, especially for the cockpit where the contact area is quite small, and of course it's been painted as well. And realistically, how often do you look at the underside of the car to see the screw heads anyway? The first decals that we apply are on the driver's seat and in the cockpit. All of my footage of this is out of focus thanks to my camera's inability to follow instructions. But I think the decals look decent enough. Now of course this car has the interesting paint scheme with the sort of red diamonds on it. These are supplied as decals. Normally I'm quite dubious about using decals for large areas of colour, and I would paint those areas myself, but I thought I would give this a go this time. I put the first few decals down and I was quite pleased with the way they went. We are guided somewhat here by very fine marks on the plastic that guide the decals position. The only area I was slightly worried about was the vents on the side pods, where we have quite a complex shape. I figured that if anything went wrong, I could always rip them all off and just repaint the whole thing. But Fujimi have done a good job here. Getting the edges of some of these front wing decals was a bit more difficult, because of course you don't want the white showing through at the edges. But in the end I was happy with one half and fairly happy with the other side, so I stuck with the decals. Of course once the paintwork decals were down and I'd left them to dry overnight, then I could put the main sponsorship decals down. This is always the point when the car starts to look good, I think. F1 cars with their paintwork but without their logos just look so strange. For the two footwork logos which go over the gap between the engine cowling and the chassis, I placed them into position and then used a brand new scalpel blade to just cut down the line to cut them into two separate decals. I've always found these semicircular wheel decals quite difficult in the past, but these ones went down reasonably well. I think I've almost got a circle there. As always, the rubber tyres have a seam line down the middle that needs sanding away. The wheel nuts are colour coded for left and right, and it's supposed to be a sort of metallic colour, so I painted those bolts with a metallic Vallejo model colour, allowed it to dry, and then applied either clear blue or clear red from Tamiya over the top. And with that done, my Footwork FA-13 is complete. So there we go guys, that was my build of the Footwork Arrows FA-13 in 1/20th scale. I hope you enjoyed this build. I know F1 cars are not the most popular subjects on my channel, but I know that there are a good number of people who do like them, and hopefully this brings back some good memories from the early 90s. I've been really good and really disciplined at the moment, and I'm managing not to start any new projects and to finish the ones that I have in progress, some of which have been in progress for a very long time. And I'm coming towards the end of that now, with several projects sort of 98% complete, just waiting for their final varnish, or in one case just waiting for the video to be edited. So over the next few weeks you will see several videos of long-standing projects getting finished. I hope to see you all in the next video. Until then, thank you very much for watching and have fun modelling.